Please welcome the co-writers and co-directors of The Inbetweeners to Ian Morris and Damon Beasley. And the Inbetweeners themselves, Simon Bird, Joe Thomas, James Buckley, and Blake Harrison. Hello. Hello all. Welcome. Now, I've been looking at the BBFC certification for this movie, which is 15, as expected, and it's rated 15 for strong sex references, very strong language,
keep talking,
drug misuse, and more importantly, nudity. Whose nudity? Any of you guys this time around?
I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone, but there's plenty of it.
Not Joe for the first time ever, I think. I think we worked out we've seen every single part of Joe Thomas naked
There's
at
nothing
some
more
point
to give.
between 3 series in a film, so not Joe.
That was partly why we'd said the last film was the last film with the last part of the story was because at that point we'd managed to get all of them in various states of undress. I think, who was the last one to fall? Simon Bird?
Yeah, you got a bit of my bum in the film, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
You completed the
Inbetweeners body parts bingo, basically. So the game was over.
Okay, so you're not saying exactly.
Well, I mean,
who just wrote
as
this
is
one.
sort of is male nudity. I think that's probably as
It
far
goes
as we
without
can,
saying, it's
as far
going
as
to
we
be
can narrow it down.
Damon and Ian, let's talk about how this movie came about. Because when the first movie came out, £42 million at the UK box office, biggest comedy in UK history. At that point, were you thinking a sequel immediately, or did someone? At what point did it?
No, we didn't. I think if we were thought about the future ever, I think we'd have had an idea at least for a sequel. We didn't have a single line written down, not a single thought about a sequel. And it was only really a few months later when we met quite a lot of people who said they really liked the show and they really liked the film. And they said to us, "Oh, you're doing a sequel then?" And we were like, "No." And they said, "Well, why are you not doing a sequel?" And we went, Don't know. And they were like, "You all fallen out, have you?" We're like, "No, we love working with each other. It's great." And they're like, "So why aren't you doing a sequel?"
Yeah.
And we were like, Don't know. And it was sort of about the 20th time of saying don't know that I thought this is a bit embarrassing. We aren't really doing anything else. It would be quite fun to do another one. So we started thinking. We talked to the guys about the idea of maybe doing it, and then we just kind of. And here we are. I mean, 3 years is I think it's quite a long time for a sequel. So, but. Yeah,
It's basically we couldn't face stepping into another London black cab and being told by a cabbie, why isn't there a sequel? We'd always go, oh god, because cabbies love the Inbetweeners.
You don't need
That's
to
one
bring
thing.
up that you write the Inbetweeners.
I do, because it's very useful.
No, but they're interesting.
This gets them off the topic of UKIP.
But they're quite good though, because the cabbies are an interesting mix. Because cabbies are basically an interesting mix of incredibly inquisitive, tenacious, and quite blunt. So they basically go, "What do you do then?"
Right.
Write the Inbetweeners.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that. You doing another one? No. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not?
So they lock the doors and just
Yeah.
they refuse to let you out until you make another one. That's essentially what
basically.
happens. Okay. And the guys, the actors, at what point did this come about for you? And were you reluctant in a way? Because I think numerous
so,
interviews.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we were really pleased with the last film that we brought out. We were really proud of it, and I mean, none of us ever thought it would become as successful as it did. So we just felt that was a natural end for the Inbetweeners. We'd all discussed it, and we were all like, "Yeah, what a great way to sort of finish the Inbetweeners." And then it sort of gets to the point where, still like 2.5, 3 years later, where there's still that interest. People are still saying, "Can you do another one then?" And then, we've also got this great idea of going to Australia, and then we also really love doing it. There was no more reason, we ran out of reasons to not do it.
Yeah, we forgot why we didn't want to do it. Basically.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I think we also massively underestimated, because, for us it was kind of like the final piece of the jigsaw, but actually, I guess for the audience, it was the first time they'd seen them on the big screen, and it worked, and it suddenly was like, well, these guys have got a life beyond the TV show. They really felt like movie stars. Sorry, guys, but you did. And it was sort of almost insane not to give it another run, give it another go.
So how many goes did you have before you hit upon the story for this film, in which they go to Australia?
I think we didn't have many really. We had the floated. We thought about an idea of a stag do, and then we remembered there was a film called The Hangover. That was about a stag do, and also it felt a little bit early to a stag do for us as well. We kind of, the situation, if you like, of the Inbetweeners was always that sort of sixth form life, and the idea of, how you start to try and expand the area, parts of your personality, if you like. So we always had this idea, like the real nutters have left school at 16, so you can sort of expand into a personality and test the water a bit more. And I think that goes even more so for when you leave school. And so for us, we were like, actually, what could they be doing at that age that isn't? So they wouldn't all be at the same university, they wouldn't all be in the same jobs, they probably wouldn't be in the same town, but travelling for 7 or 8 weeks is the sort of thing they could all do together. Particularly to Australia, which seems strangely, takes people from all walks of life, all sort of class and economic levels go travelling in Australia, I think. So that was quite quickly, it felt like that was the natural place to have those people, those characters. And it's always been about friendship as well. And so really the situation, which is friendship and testing your personality, hasn't really changed. We just felt like Australia was a good place to put them.
Okay, and starting with you, Simon, where are the characters when we meet them in this movie? Where's Will, for example?
So Will is at university in Bristol. And it's very much like school, but a bit worse because he hasn't got these three anymore. So he's totally alone, massively unpopular, and he's flailing. Really, he doesn't know what's going on with his life. So he's still very much in touch with Simon. And what's Simon up to, Joe?
Simon, as you can see from the trailer, Simon's still with Lucy, but things have sort of decomposed slightly, and he's now basically been bullied by her. And but Simon's not a particularly assertive person, and he's not really able to deal with his problems. And so what he tends to do is run away from them instead, which I suppose leads neatly on to Jay getting in touch.
That's right, yeah. Jay hasn't gone to university. It doesn't seem like he's got a job, so he's decided to go and live with his uncle, go and visit his uncle in Australia. And he emails Neil with a big long patter about how gorgeous the women are, how successful he is with them, how he's this superstar DJ now. And Neil's obviously very impressed by that. What's Neil?
Neil's just got a job, not gone to uni, surprisingly, and basically he's just missing his best mate. I kind of assume that maybe Neil's sex life isn't what it was without Jay's sex tips, because they work so well.
Definitely,
so, yeah. I think he just needs a few tips off of Jay, so we'll go literally halfway around the world to get those tips and
so
continue his conquests.
Neil's missing his mate, and Britain's not being too kind at the moment for these two. For these two characters,
Britain can be a cruel mistress.
So it make the guys just think, sod it. Even if Australia is 10% of how great Jay is making out, it's definitely going to be better than their situation that they're in at the moment. So they run off, don't they, to Australia and go to surprise Jay out there.
They do. It's a running away from their problems, basically, in true flaky Inbetweeners style.
And I think also there's a certain, from Will's point of view, there's a certain sense of optimism that he always carries, that thing of thinking, it'll be great when I go there, everything will be brilliant. Okay, so school was going to be great and it hasn't been great, but university's going to be great. Okay, it's not been great, but Australia, maybe that'll be great.
Yeah, he's excited. It's a new opportunity for him. He sees it as he thinks they're going to go travelling, whereas they think they're going on holiday, and that's sort of the tension at the core of the film. I think is that he wants to meet new people and expand his horizons.
Like-minded young adults and sort of
Yeah, exactly. Instead, he's stuck with these chumps.
And as writers, did you want to create that sense in the movie of old friends who've been apart for maybe a few months, reconnecting and find it hard to reconnect in a way, that sort of awkwardness you get when you've been away for a while?
Yeah, I mean, I think, without giving too much away, one of my favourite scenes in the movie is when the boys finally meet up with Jay in Australia, and there is just all of that kind of like strange tension that exists between people who haven't seen each other. For at that point of your life, it's still quite a long time. Isn't it like 3 months? It probably feels like a lifetime to them. So that that part of it was enjoyable. It's always a challenge, really, because at the start of the film, we'd sent them to sort of different corners of the Inbetweeners universe, and then said earlier in the day, it's a bit like the end of Empire Strikes Back, and we have to get them all back together again.
I mean, it's not exactly like the end of Empire Strikes Back. I mean, it's a very, very, very
it's exactly like.
I mean, Jay does get his hand chopped off. That's what happens. Oh no, we got to keep that.
No
quiet.
spoilers. And who knew?
Don't mention that to anyone.
Who knew that Will would turn out to betray them in the Cloud City? But
so Will is actually Neil's mum. That's the big twist at the end.
Oh, well,
Will is
there's
Neil's
a
mum,
big
yeah.
shock. I am your mum. So who's who then? If we're going to continue this Star Wars
well,
trilogy,
Blake's a Wookiee.
Yeah.
If you just
You've
check
got to
the
check
legs
it out.
I mean, I can prove to you that I'm a Wookiee. I've got these almost tumnus-like fawny hairy legs that you can see there.
So that one's easy.
No special effects required.
Joe's Luke Skywalker, I'd say.
Joe's Luke Skywalker.
He's
Do
virtuous.
you take that, Joe? You happy with that?
I'm happy with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Famously, I'm Yoda.
You're
right?
Yoda. You've got to be Yoda. Also, should I tell you one of the? I don't know if you remember the episode where Simon did an impression of Yoda. What's particularly enjoyable about that is Simon had never seen any of the Star Wars films.
I have no idea.
So
what
we
you're
were like,
talking
"This is
about.
how you do Yoda." And he's like, "I don't know what that is." And we're like, "Well, give us a go." And he did it. We were like, "Yeah, that's fine. That's great." Should we do it? Do you do it on?
What?
Can you do it?
Nah. That's a rubbish impression of
What
Yoda.
Buckley? What's Buckley?
What's Buckers?
Buckley's. I don't know.
Don't make him Han Solo.
No,
He'll never
no.
come
I
down
don't know,
from that.
I was
height.
thinking
You
of
can't
yeah,
say
Jar
that.
Jar
Vader, right?
I was thinking like
Jawa.
I was thinking
He's a
of Jawa.
Jawa.
I was thinking of Jawa.
There you go.
Who's the,
Jawa. Or like, who's that Wicket? Is it Wicket? One of the really rubbish Ewoks.
Ewok, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You're that.
Chief Chirpa, surely.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw one out there. See what happens. We have a clip. I guess talking about how you guys pick up the old rhythms again. This is a scene during a road trip. You don't know what this clip is. Do you guys? So it's the raw fish clip.
Raw fish, yeah.
Raw fish.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take a look at the clip. Thank you.
Correct.
Yes or no? Raw fish.
Just
Blake,
one
let's start
person
with you.
applauding at the back.
Yeah.
Oh, you obviously
Stop
you'd
it.
rather a Nando's, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Obviously. James.
I love a bit of sushi.
Good. Yeah. Clever. Joe.
What was the
Raw
question?
fish. Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Obviously.
I'll go yes.
Yeah.
I had my first raw fish October last year. First bit of sushi.
Really? What? How?
Just because I basically eat like a child, or I used to eat like a child, so I'm slowly starting to eat
Suckling his
vegetables.
mother's breast.
and-
Not the only one.
Now there's a big evolution in this movie in terms of your roles on the film, because you stepped up to co-direct this one, and I believe that you weren't treated with respect necessarily by your actors.
No, I'd
Is
like
this
to
true?
say it was kind of like a sort of like came from a place of love.
Nope.
No, it didn't. No, it turns out it didn't. No, it's just sort of every opportunity they got, they would try and undermine our authority.
Well, no, you were great, Damon.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Take it all back. Thanks, guys. We've spent a long time over the sort of like last 7 years cultivating a sort of. They were such good friends, and it was very clear from day one that they all got on. And we used to love hanging around and watching them do it. So we've been like terrible parents, really. Is that we sort of encouraged them to be as naughty as possible in between doing takes, and sort of enjoyed it because someone else had to deal with it ultimately. But now we're directing. That's all come back to sort of completely haunt us. And yeah, it was It was great fun.
One of our earliest memories of doing this show is at the end of the first week's filming of the first series, Ian and Damon were taken aside and told off by the first assistant director for winding us up too much in between takes. So when they became the directors, we sort of treated it was a bit like one of those moments in school where like the kids put in charge of the class for a while, or the teacher has to pop out for a minute. So we treated it as a sort of surreal joke, like, oh yeah, they're the directors.
There was
Yes,
I
director,
remember
do what you say.
there was a brilliant moment on the very first week of shooting, and we've done some rehearsal with them, but there was a moment in between takes where I remember we were standing around, and James was telling us about being in a band, and we asked him about being in a band because we were just sort of like just being polite, finding out about one of them, and said, what's the best thing about being in a band? He said the best thing about being in a band is you get to be indoors at night.
That's not what I said.
That is what
That's
you
not what I
said.
said.
That is
A
100%
rare opportunity
Full
to
on.
indoors at night.
And that was sort of the start of everything
not what I
really
said.
for the Inbetweeners.
That
'cause
is
it's
what
just-
you said.
We spent
No, I
the
said-
next
I was making a
5
joke.
of us
I was
remember you
making a
saying
joke.
indoors at night.
I was being ironic. I said the
No,
best
you
thing
weren't.
about
No, no, no.
being in a band is that it gives you license to wear sunglasses
You-
indoors.
Number
at
one,
night.
Never
you
be
never
ironic.
said license early on. You never even know the word license then, so that's not true.
So this is basically how that's basically how the whole
License
relationship
to
was
wear
formed.
specific.
Yeah, and it's sort of continued right up until now.
Was
as you
there
can see.
a war of attrition? Because you guys told me about wiping off the names,
Yeah.
Damon and Ian's names from the slates, and replacing them with more famous directors. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Not just more famous directors, just basically anyone. By the end, it was
Yeah.
anyone. Literally, I think there was one point where
It didn't have
we
to
were
be-
trying to work out a shot, and I could hear them having a conversation literally this far away from me. I was trying to talk to the DAP about alienation and why this scene serves alienation. I could hear them saying, "Why don't we dig up a corpse from the cemetery?" And that might be more useful as a director. And I was thinking, I appreciate this is a
That
funny
was a
joke,
funny day.
but I am in the
Yeah,
middle of
true.
working.
Don't
and
talk
it's
about
quite
alienation
difficult.
then. It's pretentious.
There was a lot of like, so whose turn is it to be director next? Is it me? Is it, mate? Do you want to be director? Because they're just giving it to anyone.
Just anyone
these
jump
days.
in. Just anyone's got any director ideas at all, because we are struggling here.
Who takes
Well
direction?
done, though, guys.
Who takes direction best out of the four?
Joe Thomas.
Oh, Luke
Thank you very much.
Skywalker.
Joe Tom, yeah, very committed.
I think I'm naturally quite obedient. Like I don't like getting in trouble fundamentally. Like I will do it if they're all mucking around because I'm weak.
And Joe, that's not just on set, is it? I mean, that's just in life in general. You tell Joe to do something, he will.
Yeah,
do it.
you'd have been a
So-
great Nazi.
Oh yeah, I mean no questions asked. What do you need? What can I do for you?
And who's most disobedient? Who mucks around most? Who wastes most film?
Who do you think?
Who looks the least professional of these four?
I couldn't possibly say.
Well, they're all pretty good, to be fair. No, there's not an awful lot of film wasted because, I mean, unlike I hear anecdotally about stars not coming out of their trailers and that. These guys just love being together. So actually being on set and mucking, they're there before us most mornings and just messing around and doing it. So
Yeah, there was a time when we were at Sydney Harbour and it was sort of dusk and we were trying to set the shot up. It was a big sort of opening shot of Australia, and they were there on set when they didn't need to be, and we were like, okay, well that's great, and we're really happy you're here. And then we turned our back, literally just turned our backs, and you could hear Simon Bird and Blake saying to Joe, get in the harbour, get in the harbour.
Oh.
And then as we turned back round, Joe literally had 2 legs over. He was holding on the back. We're like, Joe, don't go in the harbour. Go back to your train. There's no need for you three to be here.
Don't put your face in the fire.
Don't jump.
it's
in,
always
don't
always
jump in Sydney Harbour, Joe. We're about to start filming.
always
Go
in the
back to
background is Simon Bird.
Simon Bird.
Simon Bird plants the seed of an idea, and then Buckley and Blake and Joe get carried away with it.
And then Bird just stands back and watches the mayhem that he's caused.
And he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
When-
Never blamed. Never blamed. Just
Yeah.
stand there going, "Oh, look
He's
what they're doing
he's
over
ve-
there."
He's very much the Charles Manson of the group.
Yeah. You're kind of like.
I'll take that.
So we've got
Yeah.
Charles
Maybe like
Manson,
Nietzsche.
a Nazi, a perfect Nazi.
Yeah.
That's going well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean-
what was the experience like of filming in Australia, though? Because I know you were obviously in Sydney, but you were also in a place called Marrie, which is way in the outback. What was that like?
It was amazing. I mean, it kind of had its own challenges, but oddly, those challenges made it more fun. Like, it was up to 50-degree heat at times, and the flies were literally everywhere. They're all over your face, in your eyes, in your ears, and Ian and Damon would be at the monitors saying, "Oh, if the camera's on you, don't swat the flies away because we can't see them on screen." But obviously, you've got like 5 just crawling around you, so you're desperately trying not to swat them away. And as soon as the camera goes on to someone else, you're like, and then it's back on you, and you're like, "Yes, there's my line, and my line is this," and then I'm back to doing this.
That's a long-winded way of saying act. act like there
Act
are
like
flies.
there's not 5 creepy crawlies all over your
No,
face.
there
The
were-
flies,
there
the
were a
flies
lot
were
of flies,
amazing.
they
They
were-
were absolutely amazing. They call them sticky flies, didn't they? They were
Yeah.
they were the laziest flies. They
Well, in the morning they had a
hardly
little bit
moved.
of spirit,
If you
didn't
went
they?
like that, they would just jump and then go back on your face. They wouldn't leave you alone. They
Luckily-
wouldn't get the hint.
Our producer Spencer Millman is one of the sweatiest human beings you'll ever meet. So I would always go and stand near him because he was just giving off fly scent. They loved it. They just if you had they were disturbing you, go find Spencer, just walk by him, and they'd leap over.
It's
to
like
him.
when there's wasps and you leave a little pot of jam, so they all kind of go around the jam.
but they were funny because they would by about 3 in the afternoon, the flies would be like, "Oh, it's too hot to fly now," and they just get on your back. Do you remember that? And you turn around, you see someone's back, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And if you accidentally got in a car without cleaning your back, it was just, it was horrendous. So flies were an issue. I mean, we all drove out there together. I drove the car, and the 4 guys came with us. And there was a point about 2 hours into this drive. No, it's not that story. It's not that story. There's a point 2 hours in the drive where something happened that will never ever be spoken of. But no, it's fine. It's okay. It's too
I wasn't
weird.
there, so I'll tell you one
Anyway,
day.
but
There is video evidence, but have you deleted that?
Oh god, I wasn't even gonna. I mean, why are you doing this? Now you make it sound even weirder than it was, and it was pretty weird.
Let's not make this weirder than Chatty Man.
No, so basically, actually, shall I tell you the weird story?
No.
I will do, okay. So the weird story is basically this. We got there, we all stopped off for a wee. They went out for a wee, and then we were like,
The point is, you're
no one
totally
here.
alone.
Totally
You're
alone.
totally alone.
Yeah.
There's
We'd
no
seen
one
no
around.
cars, we'd seen nothing at
How
all.
often does that opportunity
In your life,
come up?
you know, literally nothing, miles around, 2 hours driving,
You could do
nothing.
anything.
Nobody could do anything. And what the story I was going to tell you was that there was a point where I was thinking, I wonder if this is how proper film directors work, which is to get an idea of nowhere in the desert, they go to nowhere in the desert with everyone. It's a bit like saying, we want to shoot a thing on the moon, we better go to the moon. I mean, it's that kind of level of control. Anyway, so we're driving, we stop for a piss, everyone has a look around. There's like, and Joe said, I think, this is incredible. There's nobody here. We could literally do anything. And then James came back from having a wee with his trousers around his ankles, in his pants, because he was like, we can do anything we want. And it was quite funny. And his horrible old Y-fronts he wears during the day, as we learned today, boxers at night, Y-fronts during the day. And then basically, I was like, okay, well, why don't we all just drop our pants, because that's a hilarious thing we could do. I know, we're not our pants, our trousers. So we all dropped our pants, and then Blake didn't, because Blake is, I'd argue, the most sensible. And
That's
then,
fair,
and then
yeah.
we were
like the sensible one in
we
Lord
were
of
like-
the Flies, who
but you
eventually
can't
gets
see.
killed.
You can see nothing. You can see nothing miles around. So basically, and he said to me, and it's weird, and it's not. It doesn't get better. I'm just saying you weren't walking away wondering what it was. I'm just going to tell you it's the weird thing. It's going to be over soon.
There was a weird bit
And
where we
then
were going to
basically-
Blake, like, take your
Blake-
trousers down. Take your trousers down.
I think at one point,
Blake, join in.
I think
What's
at one
the
point
matter
we were
with
like,
you, weirdo?
we were literally like, come on, Blake, be a team player. So anyway, Blake turns around. He's about to do it. We're all facing this way, sort of, and Blake goes car, and we go. He starts getting. He happens in a car for 2 hours, and so we're like a panic and everyone putting
tripping up, trying
and
to
we're
pull our
trying to
We
trying
must
to
have
run.
looked like the biggest
Fuck
freak.
it, I mean, this
It's
is the
classic,
weirdest
well,
thing.
they've
Because
driven
it's
out to
not-
the outback together.
But it's not even that. It's just
Get
like
away
it's
from their
just,
wives.
and it's not even that. We're not even.
We're stood in a circle.
We're stood in a circle with our trousers on our ankles. We're not even. Do you know what I mean? Like nothing's happening. It's just totally weird. And then we're like, oh God! So we're sort of bundled back in the car. We're like, okay, at least it's going to be the first assistant director and the director of photography who we know really well. And they drove past. It wasn't even them. It was just some people. We're like,
Do you know
oh
who it
my
was? It
God.
was like when we went to the desert, we had to get different caterers who we'd never met before, who sort of ran the unit, and it was them. So it wasn't just that they went by and never saw you again and thought it was weird. They turned up at the hotel later on. They'd never seen you before. They didn't even know who you were. Then they saw you when they arrived, and I saw them all get in a huddle immediately and start saying,
I know, I
"Those
spotted
guys,
them as
we
well. I
guys
spotted
who
them
like
straight
drop
away,
the trousers, they must be
and
staying here as well."
talking to each other, going, "Well, they get up to some weird stuff."
And it was so weird because it was sort of. It wasn't sexual. It just looked very, very. And bear in mind, if you've been in the desert and you've seen nothing for 2 hours, to then see that, as you sort of come over a rise, oh, that must be some. Well, that's
The
weird.
bit where there is a video
But
of it,
there
and
was
the
a
bit where they're
bit. There was a
bullying
bit where
Blake
we
is
were so scared because we thought they're going to be like these outback tough guys. They're going to see a load of sort of British poms with their trousers around their ankles, and they're just going to shoot us. They're going to lynch us or something.
On reflection, it's quite weird that we were videoing it.
Yeah, it's all
No, but
videoed as
I
well.
started videoing because what happened was I started videoing because what happened is that again there's nothing, there's incredible vastness, and the road is kind of like just a bit that's been over a bit more, so it's not even like it's curbs or anything like that. And James went for a wee, and Blake stood honestly 4 feet to the right of him, and he
right
could have
next to me.
stood.
He stood right next to me. He could have
Absolutely
gone
anywhere.
The outback
I
is a
mean,
dangerous place. It's best
it's-
to wee in company.
It's honestly like the vast. So I took it out to take a shot of there's James weeing, and then slightly to the right, there's this endless sort of blue sky and horizon. So that's why I was videoing it, and then obviously too good an opportunity to miss when we all. Anyway, you must have other questions. You must have other questions.
So this isn't. These cameras aren't recording.
That's fine. That's not streaming live to the internet right now. Is it? I don't think I can ask a question that would possibly follow that up. So I'm going to throw it over to you guys now. If you have any questions for Damon and Ian and the cast, then please do put your hands
I
up.
think we've silenced them.
Stunned.
Just why?
So
Can
lady
we,
here in
can
the
we
front
leave?
row. Let's all take our trousers off, shall we?
Hello.
It's very liberating.
I am Australian.
Oh, yeah, we love Australians.
Yeah. So a lot of sort of like British and American films have a lot of Australian stereotypes when they're set in Australia. What sort of stereotypes can I look forward to as an Australian in this film?
Well, you name them.
Oh,
Yeah, if you
Jay's
watch,
got a lot of
if
them,
you
hasn't
watch
he?
the first 5 minutes of the film, we tick them off pretty
Yeah.
well.
We try to get it out of the way,
Yeah.
don't we?
Yeah, I think so.
I lived in Australia when I was 15 for 6 months as an exchange student, so I've tried to replicate a lot of the things that happened to me then, which is just lots of terrifying men in Queensland, really. But there's also drop bears. We've put some drop bears in, so you'll enjoy that. They are very scary, the drop bears, so...
What are drop bears?
Buckers.
oh,
well,
well,
actually, Blake, you got...
Blake, you know about drop
got
bears,
drop
don't you?
Well,
You got done, didn't you?
no, Joe did. Joe got very convinced
Joe
that there
got-
was.
Yeah, I got
Tell the
drop
story, tell the
And
story.
he,
Tell the story.
he basically didn't get the joke and got done twice about
Tell the
drop bear.
story, though.
It's a
what
story
was
that
it?
So well, James unfortunately was working on this day, so me, Simon, and Joe, in classic Inbetweeners fashion, went on a wine tasting tour, and there was a couple of Australians that came with us, and when we went out for a little bit of lunch. They were basically talking about, you got to make sure you watch out for the drop bears. They're these bears. They're about, kind of that kind of size, and they will just drop out of the trees, and they've got such long claws that they just dig into you and just don't let go. And Joe was quite petrified
I
of
was
them.
like, okay, man.
But that doesn't sound insane in Australia, though, does it?
No,
where
it's-
every,
I mean,
where
they-
every creature is ready to sort of
worse
just
than that,
beat you up.
fair. So it's
That
not
is-
even...
the drop bears don't exist. It's a myth that they tell British people, but Joe just was very concerned the whole day, by all accounts.
But when Joe was told that, he then went, "Oh yeah, I remember someone telling me that years ago." He'd forgotten that he'd already been told about the drop bears, and then was like really getting anxious over these drop bears again.
Yeah, that is true.
Any more questions?
Cheers, guys. Great show. You said that this one was like The Empire Strikes Back. So do you think there will be a Return of the Jedi equivalent?
Oh,
Interesting.
No.
This is more like The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi into one.
And also, it's nothing like any of those things as well.
No.
I mean, being serious, we talked about the last film was originally the end point for us, and for mainly down to the fans and the success of the first film, we felt we had to at least try and give another story a crack. But this one really is. I think there's the thing with the Inbetweeners. We always wanted that story to be about a time of your life before you become a full adult, really, where you are an adult, but no one takes you seriously. So you can sort of, there's a certain charm to some of the kind of like horrific things that they say and do during that period, because they're just trying out stuff, they're not really being listened to by anyone. And I think as you grow, once you kind of get beyond that point where you split up from those friends that you made purely through geography, really, I think a lot of the charm will start to ebb away. And, it sounds insane, but we don't want this to be a sort of franchise thing. I think, this film really does, for us, is the end of it. It is kind of the death of the Inbetweeners, so it's quite sad, really.
Yeah, we're all quite sad about it, but I think we're all we like to do bigger and better each time, and I think we've really, as I described earlier, shot out loud on this film. We went out to Australia, and it's epic, basically, for especially for a British film, and I don't think we're going to manage to top that, unfortunately.
Is there a sense as well that there's a point where you don't want to become too old to play these characters, or that there's a
So insulting.
I'd do it forever. I would do it forever if we could guarantee that we were going to up the ante each time.
I think
Unfortunately, there will come a time when
Inbetweeners in space?
it will go down. So you need to cash your chips in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of long-running comedy characters, but we sort of found them when they were adults, and so they're sort of like they can exist in probably endlessly. But I think with the part of what it is to be an in-betweener is definitely something to do with that age in your life. That's what we're exploring, and I think that's we've taken it really to the end point of that. So no, we're not doing any more.
But at the same time, everything's a trilogy these days, and you never know. You might get an.
We might do a prequel, and with child actors.
Yeah.
Any more questions? There's a gentleman over here with his hand in the air. Thank you. And then right at the back as well.
Hi guys. Obviously you guys have created some amazing iconic slogans in your time, something to do with buses, for example. which I've shouted to several people on occasions. Now I'm one of them. But in terms of when you're on set, what's the kind of ratio between the improv side of it and how much of that sort of stuff is created while you're there versus how much is scripted?
I mean, Ian and Damon spend so long on the scripts, so they're pretty much set in stone by the time we get on set. There was a little bit more improv on this film than there has been on the series or on the first film, but really not much.
I think what's great, I mean, also what makes it much more fun for us, and it means that we can concentrate even less, is that Ian and Damon know how we sort of naturally talk so well. Like, when they write lines, I can read them and hear Joe saying them or hear Blake saying them.
It's almost like you don't need to practice them or rehearse
So you just,
them or
learn
them in
they're
some
just
cases.
there. It's like a flat pack film ready to sort of. You just need to open it up.
Thank you very much.
No, I'm just saying everything's done already. Like everything's completely thought out. That you don't have to go. You know, there's never a time when you go, I don't think my character would say that, because these two guys have already done that. They've already thought, they know what the characters would say, and it just means that we can turn up and do the lines and then take the piss out of them in between the...
I would say all the improvisation that goes on set, and it is brilliant, by the way. I mean, they are four of the funniest, people I've ever met, and all of the energy for improvisation goes into coming up with creative ways to undermine our position as directors. So
it's draining.
It is
draining.
There's not a lot left to go in the film.
We're exhausted by the time we come to say our lines.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are
So
knackered.
But we've been very lucky, I think, as writers first and as directors. It's such a long journey from the page to the screen for any joke, and for so many of the jokes that we write to make it to screen and to be delivered so brilliantly by them, and to be in the past directed so brilliantly by Ben and other people. It's just, that is the dream really for anyone who sets out writing comedy, and we've been really, really lucky.
Do you remember Ben?
Oh, I love Ben.
Oh, he was good, wasn't he?
Great director.
Very experienced director.
There was a golden
Beautiful
years.
man.
Yeah.
There was a question right here, right at the very
Ian, you were
back.
going to say you saw him last week. Is that
It's
right?
like basically, I see him regularly. You haven't seen him at all.
If you can just keep your hand up, please, madam.
Is there any parts of the film which really made you cringe?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of...
We can't really divulge too many moments, really, because it would ruin the joke for you. But I know what's coming in the film, and even when we watched the screening of it last week, I was watching moments through my fingers because it was that gross or cringeworthy. So if you like cringe, you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, there's a couple of bits, I think. I thought I was at the stage where I can't really cringe at anything, but there's a bit that Simon does where I was like, he's taking it up a level. He is taking over. If I'm feeling awkward at this moment, then he's doing something very, very special.
Excellent. Yes, please, right here at the very, very back. Thank you.
Well, if this is the end for the Inbetweeners, have you ever given a thought, like J.K. Rowling has done for Harry Potter, and give it a little postscript about how they end up in 20 years' time?
I haven't, but that is a brilliant idea. Yeah, I think we'll... we could do that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
We know where that's going. One
we
of
did
them's
actually-
on drugs.
The funny thing is, we did do before we wrote even a single line of the first script, we spent a week going through those characters and talking about where they'd be in 20 years and where they were now and where they'd been 10 years ago and stuff. So we had a sort of fairly good idea of what was going to happen to all of them. So we could do that. Trouble is, it just wouldn't be very interesting. I think it'd be like, it's a bit boring. They all just because that was the other thing about the Inbetweeners. I think that we've always tried to put into it is that whatever they say and whatever they get up to in these days, they're fundamentally nice, good people. Like, they're not going to be in prison. They're not criminals. They're not trying to really destroy people's lives. They're actually fundamentally very nice. And it's just going to that bit where you're testing the boundaries and seeing what you can get away with, I guess. Even Jay.
Any more questions? Yes, please.
Last weekend I went to the pub and I said that I was coming here today, and all my friends started arguing about which member each of the other ones were with the Inbetweeners. I've just left work now and I said where I was coming, and they all started arguing about who was Briefcase, who was Bumdar. It was a real good day. You guys, do you actually feel like, not you're going to say that you are like them people, but do you actually think he is actually like him, or do you think could swap roles?
I think we're not allowed to say that James is like Jay, are we?
No, I wouldn't like to be. I was locked up.
I think it's slightly.
Blake's
I mean,
not as stupid as Neil, obviously. I mean,
I think
we
Blake's
were talking,
exactly the same as Neil.
No, Blake.
We were talking
Blake,
today.
we don't give a script to. He does improvise all of those. Well, he doesn't improvise. We just film him. He doesn't know we're filming him. So
It's like Bowfinger with Blake.
who did your friends say that you were?
Well, my name is Will, so there was definitely your briefcase.
Good on you.
I mean, it's slightly unfair for the guys because we wrote the first series before we cast any of them, and you know we had these characters in mind, and they were pretty strong characters. But the truth is, over the next two series and the last two films, we've kind of written towards their strengths. You know, comedically, and also even when they're mucking about and they do things that they make us laugh, we kind of push towards that a bit. So actually, they end up, you know, just with little ticks and things, seeming a bit more like their characters than they actually probably really are. It's just that we've heard them or seen them do funny things that we liked and put in.
There was an interesting postscript to that question about if you could switch for another role. Which one would you go
is a
for?
good question.
Blake, let's start with you.
When we originally auditioned and I was looking at all the roles, it was like a kind of cattle mart audition, and like there was so many actors there, and I saw all the roles on the table, and I was just flicking through them quickly, and I thought, oh well, maybe I could do a Jay. I probably won't be a Will. I definitely won't be Neil. I think I'd be more like Simon, because when I was younger I was quite a hopeless romantic, just embarrassingly bad with women, and then I walk into the room and she sees my gormless face and went, oh Neil. I was like, oh brilliant, I'm not going to get this part, I haven't looked at those lines, and there you go, natural stupidity wins again.
I actually played Neil in the pilot. I was, but I wasn't very good at it.
No, what happened
they just
was
needed to sex the part up a bit. I
did,
think.
yeah,
That's what happened.
we were talking about recasting after that pilot because we made some mistakes as producers of that, and when they were talking about the role of Jay, there was, you know, and we kind of were talking about who was going to play Jay, and you'd played Neil, hadn't you, in the pilot?
Yeah.
We discussed you and I said, oh, yeah, after knowing him, now after spending 8 days filming with him, we're morons. He's obviously Jay. He's got to be Jay, hasn't he?
What was great though is that I got a phone call from my then agent saying, I've got some good news and some bad news. Good news is they're going ahead with the Inbetweeners. Bad news is they're recasting. I was like, well, there's no good news there for me. You're fired.
Is your agent Darren Lamb from Extras?
I think, yeah, it was pretty much that.
Thomas, who would you play, Buckers?
But no, that's the thing as well. I wouldn't have known about the audition for Jay, because I sent you a message saying, oh, like, well done, congratulations, gutted, I'm not going to come along for the ride. And then you went, no, we're seeing you next week. Would you mind if you came in and maybe read for the role of Jay? And I went, well, yeah, no, I wouldn't mind at all. I'd love to. I'd just been told I hadn't had a job 5 minutes ago by my actual agent. But it's me, because I've got reached out to you, I've managed to possibly get some more work.
So does that mean you owe Damon 10% of everything you've earned since? Is Damon your...
Yes.
You owe yourself 10%. That's your own commission.
I've made you money. I've made you enough money.
Who else would you play? Who else would you play?
Who else would I play? Who did I say earlier?
You said Neil's dad.
Neil's dad, yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd get like a bald wig. No, Neil.
Jay?
I don't know. I mean, again, when I was reading for it initially, I think Will and Simon were the two ones that seemed kind of maybe doable to me. I think because they were both sort of posh-ish, and I mean, but
I don't think they were. I think
not supposed
Simon
to.
definitely wasn't.
They're not meant to be, are they? In fact, when we finished doing the first series, it's Damon and they sent us all like a card to say thanks for doing it. I think it was Damon put in my card. Thanks so much for playing Simon. We never thought he could be so funny, and then in brackets also weird, which probably wasn't really the point of what they're after. So I think by this point we've kind of moulded so much of our characters. I don't think any of us could play any of the other ones.
Who'd you like to?
I do love Neil. I mean, I think I love his innocence.
Good choice.
Yeah, he's got a good heart. I think he's quite kind. Yeah. So yeah.
And I'd go with I quite like if I could play Gilbert and Greg Davies could play Will. I think a short Gilbert and a tall Will would be pretty funny.
Pretty good, that.
That'll be amazing. I think we've got time for one last question. Yes, please, right here in the front row.
Hi guys. what are your plans now the Inbetweeners has ended for good?
Well, what's really great about the Inbetweeners is that it gives us a lot of time to sort of decide what we want to do next, and none of us ever rush into doing anything unless we really want to do it. And Blake
does a bit.
Yeah, I've got various sitcoms and shows that only ever go for one series. I'm sure they'll, I'll keep getting more of those. But Keeping Rosie is still out at some Picture House cinemas. If you want to go and see me do some kind of psychological
shut up about Keeping
Rosie.
Rosie.
Just stretching my acting muscles, doing something serious. No big deal.
Can
Don't
you
worry
get
about
out
it.
of Maxine Peake's arse for 1 minute?
Oh, well, make me, mate.
But yeah, I think.
What are you doing, Joe?
I mean, I suppose a little
we
bit.
like writing, don't we? I
We
think
both,
we've all
I
got
think,
into writing.
yeah, and I think Simon as well. I think we all kind of have ambitions to try and write something of our own. And in a way, Ian and Damon.
Good luck.
Well,
no, yeah.
and then maybe we can direct it
enough.
one day, and then the cast can mercilessly take the piss out of us until we're on the verge of a nervous breakdown. So yeah, that.
It suits,
I've got the nervous
it sort
breakdown
of
bit
suits
nailed.
me as well because I've got sort of 2 kids at home and stuff, so I can write and I can be at home, and that's what I'm going to spend the next year of my life doing, I think.
Simon?
Indoors during the day.
Indoors at night.
Sunglasses at night.
Yeah, ditto. Really, I've got a few things bubbling under. Don't worry about that.
I'm trying to write an adaptation of a Philip Pullman book. Which won't be. That's basically it. It's a bit like Blake doing his serious acting. I'm really clever and I want to be taken really seriously. But also we're trying to write some other comedy stuff, so which will be much better than that.
I'm planning to become an expert at jet skiing. That's my. I've got to find a lake somewhere in Dorset that allows jet skiing, if anyone knows that. But that's it, yeah. Going to spend my time wisely.
Have you jet skied before?
Just the one time, we went out just before the start of the
You've been obsessed with it ever since.
I absolutely love it. We went out, though, and we took the boys out for a treat, because they'd done it before last time they were in Australia.
It's sort of like a little tradition, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was two of the funniest times I've had have been jet skiing. Once in Malia and once in Surfers Paradise. The Malia one, I'd broken my wrist and just come out plaster about a day before. And I was like, I'll be fine in a jet ski. And we got out and basically I couldn't hold onto the bike on the wave. So whilst everyone was going really fast, and it was in my eyes, I couldn't wipe my eyes. I couldn't take the other hand off the thing. So I was basically like this.
What was brilliant was that because of the way Ian is, like he's sort of an expert on everything. So it was like, follow me, lads. So he because he was in front, he would then set the speed for the rest of us. And they're called jet skis, but he got to the first wave and crashed into it. And just the wrist has gone, and then we just had to sort of potter about.
It was very slow.
We had to keep sort of like 50 feet away from him. And we're like. God,
so the second time we did a jet ski safari in Australia, which you can do for like 3 hours. And the 2 highlights of that were the people that ran it, because you have to do a safety talk beforehand. So the safety talk in Mali was literally a bloke going, that start, that stop, off you go. Safety talk in Australia was 50 minutes?
It was on a DVD.
It was on a DVD, and it was basically him standing next to the DVD, which was him standing next to the same wall saying things.
It was by the way, it was like talking about Australian stereotypes. It was the most Australian you could imagine anyone could be, because
he was wearing stubbies
he'd been forced to make a DVD at 45 minutes length because he had to add every time there was an accident, he had to add a new section to his DVD.
The insurance,
and he was skipping through it. He was fast forwarding through those bits and going, those have been fine.
Then he sort of goes, I'll tell you this bit, and we're like, the bit you're telling us is exactly the same as what's on the DVD. But he'd be like, so basically what you might think is you see your mate fall off and you think, I'm going to go right up to him and do a big curve and just smash him in the face, but don't do that. And we're like, okay.
Please resist the urge.
Some idiot was there and he caught the wake of a boat and he's just gone in the air and he's up there and he's about sort of 15 foot in the air and he's just hovering there, and you know what you're thinking? I wish I had a camera right now to take a photo of this moment. It looks awesome. We're like, no, that's not what it.
He's like, and he's up in the air and he's going, I wish I had a camera, and it looks awesome. And we're like,
did he die?
Anyway, there's another thing you can't do. We're like, well, that's just like a story about something that
the only thing we really needed to know was that you had to connect yourself to the ignition. So if you fall off, the ignition comes out and the jet ski doesn't run off. And so at the end of this 2 hours, it was brilliant. Being all around this
the
bay.
day before, the
producer
would phone me and gone, Ian, I don't think you should do it. It's a tradition. We did it in Malia. So
it's insurance.
You shouldn't. It's insurance issues. Don't take the cast out.
It's a tradition. We did it that one time.
Yeah. And I said, look, I don't care what the insurance say. They're going to be fine. We're doing this. We're taking them out. Sorry, go.
No, but that was it. And then when we got at the end, because it'd been in a bay, so it was very calm. And then he just took us out into some slightly choppy seas, where just the mouth of the bay where it met the sea, and it was the sun was setting, and all I saw up ahead was a bit of a kerfuffle as everyone stopped. And Joe had managed to fall off of his jet ski into quite rough water. And the only thing we needed to know was that you had to connect yourself to the safety sort of dead man's key, they call it. He hadn't bothered to do that, so the jet ski just
jet ski's going off. The waves are about 6 foot. He's disappearing.
And it's sort of shark water. This is like shark feeding.
It was dusk, shark infested water. And then so that was bad. Like, okay, Joe's got back. And then we drive back. And bearing in mind, we were shooting, I think, the next day, and their faces are relatively important for the film. James got head-butted a bee.
Yeah.
Stung by a bee on the head.
I
was like, oh, I think I might be in trouble now.
Because I was behind Blake. And I thought that maybe like a stone had got into the jet and hit me in the head, but then it carried on stinging for so long. I didn't know what it was, and I sort of worked out that I'd maybe have just, because we were going so fast, I just like head-butted a bee and it just stung me the side of my head and it sort of blew up a bit.
Not recommended.
Not recommended. On that bombshell, that's a great note on which to end. Thank you so much for coming. The movie's out next Wednesday. Thanks for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Simon Bird, Joe Thomas, James Buckley, and Blake Harrison. Thank you.
Chris.